In this video, I'm going to show you how to set the return on ad spend target in your account the correct way to ensure your Facebook ads serve your business objectives the best and the fastest. You see, most brands actually set their ROAS target the wrong way, and it stunts their growth and stops them getting to the goals that they want to achieve with their business. So I'm going to show you the different calculations we take based on unit economics, cash flow, LTV, to ensure that the ROAS target we set in our brand's accounts gets us to our business objectives the fastest. So to kick things off, I'm just going to explain kind of the wrong way that most brand owners and internal media buyers will go about this, and that is that they just set a high ROAS target out of thin air with no thought or reason behind it, just because it would be a nice target. So for example, I spoke to a brand owner who wanted to hit a 5 ROAS on his ads, and he was spending about 10 grand a month. And I was thinking, well, this guy has a 70% margin, which is typical kind of product margins in e-commerce. If he was to spend 10 grand a day at 2 ROAS, he would make way more money than spending 10 grand a month at 5 ROAS. But he was extremely adamant in hitting that 5 ROAS. But there was no thought or reason kind of why. It was just, a nice profitable number that he could wanted to hit. But the thing is, this actually can stunt the growth of your brand and your customer acquisition by setting a target that's a bit too high and not sacrificing scale for ROAS. Remember guys, Facebook is a tool for acquiring customers. The brands that really do the best in this use it as a customer acquisition tool, not as a tool to make as much front end profit as possible. So I'm going to go right into the right way of setting your ROAS targets, and there's a few kind of calculations / things you need to analyze before you do it. So the first thing is you need to kind of look at your business and analyze, is this something where my products are consumable, or they're repeat purchased? What's my repeat purchase frequency, right? Because if your product is let's say a fast moving consumer good and it's bought once a month, right? Well, you don't really necessarily have to hit a high ROAS to do well. You can probably hit a 1 ROAS and make the money back from that, and the payback period would be quite short. Whereas if your product's something that's maybe like seasonal and bought once a year, maybe like a coat or something, then of course hitting a good front end ROAS, hitting a good ROAS and getting a good front end profit would be important, because you wouldn't need, it'd be a long time for a customer to come back and repeat buy. Also, another thing is look at your customer lifetime value. Again, that ties into your repeat purchase metrics, AOV, repeat purchase frequency. Take a look at it. Is your LTV quite high? If your average order value is like 50, but your LTV is like 500, well, you can spend way more than 50 and actually acquire customers at a loss, because you'll make that money back. Whereas if your customer LTV again is quite low, then maybe you haven't got that luxury to do so. And also take a look at the cash flow aspect of your business as well. Are you getting consistent sales and cash flow in from other sources, maybe from retail, draft orders as well, where you can sacrifice your margin on Facebook because you still got cash flow coming in? Or are you in a position where you have to be profitable in your Facebook ads so that you can fund the next month of ad spend? So that's another thing to factor in as well. Another thing is to analyze the attribution window to work off, right? As you guys might know, Facebook on default work off a 28-day click, 1-day view attribution. If your primary source of new customers is off Facebook, it's likely that attribution window is fine. However, if you're driving a ton of traffic from influencers, from SEO or paid search, Google Shopping, if your email game's on point and you're getting a lot of your cart abandonment emails, your welcome emails, driving a lot of conversions, then Facebook's going to take credit for those, right, in their revenue metrics. So you need to make sure you look at, what's the ratio of click-through to view-through conversions on your campaigns, especially in your retargeting. Can you realistically use a 28-day click, 1-day view to report off, or do you have to condense that, maybe using a 7-day click instead? You need to work out what is the most accurate attribution window to work off in your account. And the next thing to do after that is break down your unit economics. So what a great starting point is to find your break-even point and set the target from that. For example, if you always want to be profitable in your ads, you need to find your break-even ROAS and ensure that your ads never go below that. And we're going to get into this in a second. And then also you need to take your monthly budget, your prospecting and your marketing split. use a weighted average calculator to calculate the ROAS target you need to hit on prospecting, which is your cold traffic, and your remarketing as well, so you can hit that account-wide ROAS target. Now, it seems a bit kind of complex. I know it seems a little bit quite detailed, but I want to explain through everything. It will make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's say your brand, let's say these are your metrics here. So let's say you don't really have a high repeat purchase rate, you don't have a high LTV, so you just want to focus on kind of front end profit only. So I'll just give you an example here. So this is a document that we use to calculate, the break-even points from our clients' products. So just to give you an example of how the sheet works. So it starts off with some questions and some inputs and outputs here. So just to go over the questions so it makes sense. So one thing is why is VAT filed in the pixel? Now VAT, if you're in the US, you might know what this might not know what this is, but this is basically tax that EU countries have to pay on goods. Typically in the UK it's 20%. If you're based in the US, you may have to pay, I think, state tax for any purchase in your state, so you could probably just omit that. It's important that you figure out, first of all, when calculating your metrics, is the tax fired in your pixel. So, for example, if my product was £100 and my VAT tax was 20%, is it, when someone buys that product, is £100 going to be fired back to Facebook, or is the £120 conversion value going to be fired back to Facebook? That's really important to know. A lot of the time people miss this out. They don't factor into their targets whether these little fees and stuff are added in. Another thing is is shipping fired in the pixel as well. If your customer pays the shipping cost, then is that revenue being attributed, or is it just a product cost revenue? Again, if you're working with an agency, you need to factor this in. So, for example, I'm going to just assume you're not working in an agency, but let's say you were to work with an agency and they were charging you 10% of ad spend. Then obviously it's going to alter your break-even point here. You want to times your final value, your final target by 1.1, or divide your target CPA by 1.1 to get that accurate number. Again, payment process fee. So let's say Stripe, for example, right? Let's just say it's 3%. You want to factor that in. Any merchant account fees, you want to add that in. Now, of course, there are going to be costs like, for example, Stripe maybe 20p plus 2.9%, and you can't really factor in that 20p. So again, this isn't 100% accurate, but it's as accurate as you can get it. Now, let's break down the unit economics here. So let's say, just example product, let's just say it's a jumper, right? Let's say it cost me £10 from my supplier to get the product, cost me £5 to ship the product. Now let's say my customer pays for the shipping, right? So then we've got to make sure we add that in. So let's say our average order value for the jumper, let's say it's at £64, and let's say I'm paying 20% VAT, which you do in the UK, and let's say there's no discount offered on this, so I'm not doing any sort of offer or bug off or whatever like that. There's no offer here. So I've just split out the metrics here. As you can see, I've got a break-even CPA here of £43. So which means I need to make money to be profitable. I need to hit the CPA, and I need to hit this ROAS target here. Let's just assume you're not working with an agency. Therefore, your final target you must hit to be profitable is a 1.6 ROAS. So now that you've got that, let's just say if I just change some of these numbers around, so let's say your VAT isn't fired back to Facebook. Let's say you do free shipping on orders over £100. So your jumper costs a bit more, and there's no. So you can see you can kind of play around the numbers here. And let's say you're selling in the US, so you can charge the VAT, but you're not having to pay it. So as you can see here, final break-even ROAS is about 1.39. So you can fiddle with these numbers and everything, making sure that your pixel, matches the. You can answer the questions here based on what the revenue value that your pixel fires back to the account, and obviously change your unit economics around here. So let's just go back to our original point of 1.6 ROAS. Now, let's say I want to, still make a profit, on my ad. So I want to get a 2 ROAS account wide. I've deduced in my business based on my repeat purchase rate, my LTV, that a 2 ROAS is, a good enough point where I can scale, but I'm also retaining enough profit, enough cash flow to keep funding the ad spend. So if I want to hit a 2, what I simply do here is I also need to figure out what am I going to hit on my prospecting campaigns and what am I going to hit on my retargeting campaigns. You must make sure you've got 2 different defined targets for each of these, and I'm going to explain why. So let's just assume my budget for the month is 100,000, and I'm going to do a typical split of 70-30. So 70% of my budget is going to go to prospecting and 30% is going to go to retargeting, and I want to hit that target account ROAS of 2. I've looked in my numbers in my business and I think that that's the best number to go for. So here, as you can see, to hit a 2 ROAS, which is where kind of the green and the red meet, I need to be hitting these numbers on prospecting and these numbers on retargeting. So for example, if I was consistently getting a 3.4 on retargeting, my DPAs are doing well, my let's say any of my retargeting ads were doing well, and I know I need to get a 1.4 on prospecting, right? So I could say, all right, if I'm going to maintain a 3.4 ROAS on retargeting, I'm always going to scale my prospecting campaigns as long as I'm getting a ROAS of 1.4. Now let's say your retargeting campaigns weren't doing that well, you were at, let's say a 3. Well, I know I need to be hitting a 1.6 on the cold traffic campaigns, as long as I'm maintaining that retargeting ROAS of 3 to hit a retargeting ROAS of 2. And let's say your retargeting is starting to pick up really nicely, and you're hitting that above count wide ROAS target that you've set. Well, now okay, I can probably drop my threshold on prospecting and scale up even more. So do you see how you kind of have to kind of balance both of the values here, making sure one's performing well so you can scale the other, and to make sure you can hit that target that you set. So that's kind of how you set ROAS targets in your account. Again, the way it kind of stems is number 1, analyze your business, your model. Is it something that's bought frequently? Is it not? What are my margins like? What's my customer LTV like? What's my payback period, right? Does it take a short amount of time for me to get that purchase, get that repeat purchase, or do I have to wait a year for the customer to buy again? And is my business's cash flow strong enough to fund to keep making a loss and keep floating, or do I have to be profitable today to keep funding the next month of ads? Now that you've done that, work out the most accurate attribution window to work off in your campaign. Can you realistically use the 28-day click, 1-day view in Facebook, or do you have to reduce that to a 7-day click or maybe a 1-day click? And then break down your unit economics, find your break-even points, and work from that. Take your typical prospecting and remarketing percentage split. Again, it's probably going to be a 70-30. If you're selling maybe higher ticket products, maybe a 65 or a 60-40. If you're driving a lot of traffic from other channels as well, maybe your retargeting percentage spend is going to be a lot higher as well, to retarget your traffic from your influencers, Google, other sources. And then use the weighted average calculator to calculate the ROAS target you need to hit on prospecting and remarketing to hit your account-wide ROAS target. So, hope that video helps. Again, I know it's a little bit complex, but it is important to really break things down, actually have some thought, some logic behind the targets that you set, and not kind of be like everyone else who just says, yeah, I want to hit a 5 ROAS, yeah, I want to hit a 10 ROAS. Because at the end of the day, it's the brand that can spend the most to acquire a customer will win in the end. So, thanks for watching the video. Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching.